Sarah presents a quilt that is simply delicious.
Chocolate Cherry Pie is a wonderful quilt by Lynn Christensen that is filled with classic techniques for a sweet design.
Enjoy a slice of tasty patchwork on today's episode of Love of Quilting. You're watching the 4400 series of Love of Quilting. I'm Angela Huffman.
And I'm Sarah Gallegos.
And Sarah, you have brought a yummy quilt. What's the name of this, the title of this quilt?
So this quilt is called Chocolate Cherry Pie by Lynn Christensen, and I kind of put a little different spin on the colors.
Yeah?
And I'll tell you a funny story. My mom made this pie that was peaches and blueberries, and it all just like bubbled up all over the baking tray and made a huge mess. And so we've always remembered the purple peach pie. So this is what it reminds me of, my mom's purple peach pie instead of the chocolate cherry pie.
It's all good.
Yeah, it's fun. And it's just a one block wonder, right? So there's just only one block in the quilt, and it's just how it's put together and a little bit of cutting at the end that makes for a magical little layout.
Nice.
Yeah. So we're going to start by working on the very center of the block. It's a square and a square. So I've got some large squares and small squares, and we're just going to sew those tip to tip diagonally across.
All right. Peach and blueberry. That sounds like an excellent.
I remember it being really yummy, but also just really messy looking.
Mess, yeah.
Too much liquid or something.
Yeah.
And then we're going to do the same thing on the diagonal corner. So if we
Okay.
could do one more across here. Yep. Do you have a favorite kind of pie?
I do. It's ubiquitous in my area around the running of the Derby, and it is a chocolate. It's like a warm chocolate chip cookie in a pie crust, and some people make it with bourbon instead of vanilla, which is good. And some people make it with walnuts instead of pecans, which is like, what are you thinking? I don't know what that is.
Whoa. Yeah, bourbon and pecans.
So I have my druthers.
So do you prefer it with the bourbon or with the vanilla?
I prefer it with the vanilla, and I prefer it with the pecans.
Okay.
Yeah.
I made homemade vanilla extract one year for Christmas gifts for people, and I've been wanting to redo that with bourbon instead of with vodka and vanilla beans. I think it'd be really yummy. That may be this year's holiday gift.
So you're gonna put bourbon with vanilla beans.
Yeah. It's really easy to make your own extract. You just put a bunch of vanilla beans in a bottle and vodka on top. So I've cut the edges there.
Yep.
And then you just let it sit in your pantry for a long time, and it gets the vanilla beans all moist, and it's like coagulated paste. So if you can use your vanilla beans for something else. But I've seen people can do it with bourbon too, and it sounds delicious.
All right.
Okay. So we get a little recipe tip on today's
There
episode.
you go.
So now we're going to do the same thing again on the
other
opposite
sides.
edges.
See, I thought for sure, you being in Michigan, that you'd all be about a cherry pie. Have you had a chocolate cherry pie?
I've never had a chocolate cherry pie.
How is that possible?
I don't know. I've had so much cherry pie and never even thought to put chocolate on top. I need to get at it, right?
Yeah.
I am a pie person. I would 10 times rather have pie for my birthday than cake. I do like pie.
And of course, what cherry pie is a certain time of year.
Well, we have the Cherry Festival in the summertime, which is all kinds of fun. You can have cherry pie. You can participate in a cherry pit spitting contest.
Yeah.
All kinds of fun things.
I would think that cherries would really be, you talk about making a mess or staining stuff.
Right.
That's,
It's pretty messy.
what I would think of too.
But oh, so delicious. There's lots of fruit up north too in Michigan, not just cherries. Okay, so I'm going to cut those again. And then we will have our little square and a square block. And of course, if you're the thrifty stitcher, you can always save those guys and turn them into something else.
Because they're
they are
a cutie
matching,
little half square triangle right there if you put them together.
Right.
This fabric feels a little different to me, this kind of peachy one.
The peachy fabric is a chambray. So it is a little bit, it's woven differently. It's a little bit lighter weight. It does tend to give you some little fuzzies around the edges, but oh, I just love the texture. It's just so nice to sew with.
Because it kind of looks like a solid, but it's kind of not, because the warp and the weft are two different colors.
Right. So you get a little bit more of a textured feel to it than just a regular old solid. So it's one of my favorite things to work with if I want just a little bit of dimension in my fabric without just being a loud solid. I thought it kind of played well. And you always make a test block. I had done a completely different fabric for these two corners here. Well, all of the corners. And it just didn't have enough contrast. It blended too much, and I'm already kind of a muted palette as it is. So I was really happy when I kind of happened upon that.
So that's the middle.
That's the middle. You got it.